Mehavala Arkadaşlarım. So a lot of you guys ask me how I read books. How is it I go about reading a book? Do I take notes? How do I memorize all the information? Stuff like that, right? Now I think I've addressed how I choose books. So this question I'll answer right now. It depends a lot of the time. If I'm reading a book like this, contract law book, there might be certain concepts that I'm going to reference later on, and so I'll put a sticky, right? So in this case, it's the measures of money damages. There's 3 or 4 types of money damages, and rather than memorizing the definitions, I just rather memorize where it was I found that concept. And so I put a sticky. The same holds true for like if there's an interesting fact that I want to keep about something. So in this case, Deadly Companions, I'll put a sticky note. So like I think one of these sticky notes is about like how 495,000 of Napoleon's troops died to typhus. And so that's an interesting fact about microbes that I might want to keep for a later date. If I'm going to cite it or something, and I want to know where it is inside the source, so I'm like not paraphrasing it, but I can actually get the details of it. But with like a book like this, I'm not very well. Like I'm not worried about taking notes because it's like a general introduction book. It's not a book that I want to memorize everything. It's kind of a book where I want to just get a feel of stuff, right? And so I don't take a lot of notes. I'll just maybe put a sticky if there's a fact I want to remember. For a book like this, The Critique of Pure Reason, I will use sticky notes and underlining and so on and so forth. Not only if there's an idea, but primarily if there's a big argument that I have to memorize. Because with these kinds of books, the authors tend to make arguments that have like 6 or 7 premises that you have to follow, and then the conclusion comes from those premises, and you might forget like some nuance of premise 1, and so you have to go back and reread it. So I'll do that if it's like a big technical argument inside of a book. That I will do for note-taking. Another example of the kind of note-taking I will do when I'm reading is if I want to paraphrase something. So some of these stickies are just like if I want to, like for research, like there's some data in here I want to cite, but I'll do this kind of note-taking if I want to paraphrase something. So like I'll read the paper or the chapter, and I will put like little lines where like the main chunk of the ideas are, and paraphrase that. Again, here's some more. That's something else I will do. So if I'm gonna like basically paraphrase something, then I will maybe do some kind of more systematic note-taking. But for the most part, here are some examples from my current reading list where I actually don't really take notes or stickies. So the Oxford Handbook of Skepticism, I'm halfway through this and I put a few stickies, but because I'm so familiar with the subject already, I don't need to take notes. It's kind of actually almost every chapter is like repetition. They're all kind of taking like this similar idea of skepticism and approaching it differently. So I don't need a lot of notes there. Same thing with this, like it's a biography. I don't need a lot of data memorized in my brain from this. If there's an interesting fact I want to keep, I'll put a sticky. But again, there's no stickies or notes in this book, just reading it for fun. This book, again, just reading it for fun. If there's an interesting fact I want to keep, I will put a sticky, but I don't need to retain a lot of data inside this book. And that also holds true for this book. This is just a general science book about viral outbreaks. So yeah, no stickies, no anything, no notes. So I think that's what a lot of people get confused about, is I read a lot and they get confused that I can like seemingly can retain infinite amounts of information, but that's not the case. A lot of the books that I read, I don't even take notes, and I barely even use stickies, as you saw. Reading, mostly for me, how I read is just for fun, and if I do take notes, at the beginning of the video you could see some of the methods I use. That being said, tschüss.